The Shattered Veil ****, they said the world changed the day the sky cracked open. Not with thunder or flame, but with light soft, golden light that shimmered like 1,000 tiny suns and whispered promises of forgotten things. Most called it a miracle, some called it an omen, but Lara Veil knew it was something else entirely. It was the beginning of an unraveling. I remember the morning it happened. The air was strangely still, the kind of stillness that makes even the wind hold its breath. The lake near my home reflected the sky so perfectly that I couldn't tell where one ended and the other began. I was 17, old enough to feel the pull of the unknown, young enough to still believe the world would answer if I called to it. So, I did. I whispered my name into the reflection and it whispered back. The sound was faint, like an echo from a forgotten dream. But it wasn't mine. It was older, softer, other. That night, the light came. It poured down from the heavens like silk, bending and twisting in slow, graceful arcs until it touched the ground in the middle of the village. People gathered around, their eyes wide with wonder, their hearts pounding with something they couldn't name. Children laughed, old men wept, and the sky hummed with a melody none of us understood. But when the light faded, it left behind something impossible of veil. It shimmered like liquid glass, rippling when the wind touched it, humming when the stars emerged. No one dared to cross it, though many tried to peer through. Beyond it lay shapes, mountains that weren't there before, trees that seemed to glow from within, and rivers that flowed upward into the clouds. The veil, they began to color. The shattered veil. My father said it was a divine boundary, a gift from the gods to remind us of humility. My mother believed it was a test, a thin line between truth and illusion. But I couldn't look away. Every night, the veil sang to me, softly, sweetly, like the voice of someone who knew me before I was born. 3 months passed before I touched it. The village had begun to change by then. Crops grew taller than ever before, but some wilted overnight for no reason. The river glowed faintly at dusk, and sometimes you could see shadows move beneath its surface, shadows that didn't belong to fish. The elders prayed more often. The children stopped playing near the fields, but the veil still shimmered, and I still heard it calling God. It was midsummer when I finally went alone. The moon hung heavy and red in the sky, and the air tasted like rain. I followed the sound, soft and rhythmic, like a heartbeat in the air. My feet sank into the wet grass as I reached out my hand. The veil's light danced across my skin, warm and trembling. For a heartbeat, it felt alive. And then it broke. Not shattered, no. It opened. The light didn't pour out this time. It pulled me in. The world folded. Sound disappeared. For a moment, I felt weightless, like I was falling through water and stars all at once. When I opened my eyes, I stood in a forest that glowed from within. Every leaf shimmered as though lit by starlight, and the air carried the scent of something ancient like rain mixed with memory. And in front of me stood a figure. He wasn't human, though at first glance he looked close enough to fool the eye. His skin gleamed faintly, like marble warmed by sunlight, and his eyes pale silver. Endless seemed to see not just me, but through me. He smiled, and the forest seemed to bow. "You heard me," he said. His voice was soft, yet it carried across the clearing like wind through chimes. Few ever do. I tried to speak, but words refused to form. He stepped closer, studying me with quiet curiosity. "Your world calls this place forbiddance," he said. "But the truth is simpler. You live in the shadow of what was broken." He turned, gesturing to the trees. "Once, this was one realm, yours and mine. The veil was not a barrier then, but a bridge. It was meant to keep balance, not separation. But balance is fragile." He paused, and for the first time, his expression darkened not with anger, but with something deeper, regret. "When your kind forgot how to listen, the bridge fell silent. Until now." "Why me?" I managed to whisper. He tilted his head slightly. "Because you still listen." He lifted his hand, and the air between us shimmered. In it, I saw flashes of things, mountains made of crystal, rivers of gold, and faces that looked both human and not. Then I saw something else, a city floating in the clouds, and a shadow creeping across its edges, swallowing its light. "The worlds are shifting again," he said quietly. "When the veil broke, it did not open by chance. It was drawn to you, Lara Veil. You are its echo, its tether." "I don't understand," I whispered. "You will." His eyes softened. "But understand this first, the veil does not give without taking. To touch it is to bind yourself to it. You have already chosen." And then, the forest trembled. A low hum filled the air, growing louder, until it was almost unbearable. The trees leaned inward, and the light dimmed. The figure's expression changed. He looked almost afraid. "They found you too soon," he said sharply. You must go, now. Who? But before I could finish, he pressed his hand to my chest. Light flared. The world shattered. When I awoke, I was lying by the lake. The sun was rising, the village bells were ringing, and the veil stood silent again as if it had never moved. Only a faint shimmer remained on my skin, glowing like a fading memory. But that wasn't all. When I looked into the lake's reflection, I didn't see my own face. I saw his, the silver-eyed stranger, watching me from the other side of the water. He spoke without moving his lips. The balance begins to break. And then he was gone. For days I tried to convince myself it was a dream. But dreams don't hum through your veins, and they don't make the world around you shift. The air felt heavier, the shadows longer. When I walked through the market, people whispered without knowing why. They said they felt something watching, something waiting. One night, as I lay awake, I heard the hum again, the same rhythm I had felt in that glowing forest. Only this time, it came from beneath the ground. I followed it, barefoot, through the sleeping village and into the fields. There, among the tall grass, stood 3 others. They were my age, but their eyes glowed faintly with the same silver hue as his. They turned to me as if they had been expecting my arrival. You felt it too. One said, a boy with a scar like a crescent moon on his cheek. I nodded. The veil? He shook his head. Not just the veil, the calling. It's stronger every night. What does it want? I asked. A girl with hair white as frost looked at me with calm certainty. Not what? Who? It wants you. The air thickened. The hum deepened. Somewhere beyond the hills, the veil shimmered again, brighter than ever before, like a heartbeat in the dark. And I knew then that whatever had begun that night, when the sky first cracked open, wasn't over. It was only beginning. The veil had chosen me, and something on the other side was waiting. The morning after the second shimmer, the village no longer felt like home. The air carried a charge, a silent tension, as if the world itself was waiting to exhale. People spoke in whispers, glancing often toward the horizon where the veil glowed faintly, even beneath the daylight. The children no longer played near the lake. Even the birds, once restless and loud, had gone quiet. I tried to act as if nothing had changed, but I could feel it under my skin, the hum, soft and constant, like a secret heartbeat that didn't belong to me. The others felt it too. We met again at dusk, drawn by the same invisible thread. The boy with the crescent scar introduced himself as Kale. The pale-haired girl was Saren, the third silent, watchful, with eyes darker than midnight, called himself Foreign. Each of them had seen the light that night. Each had felt its pull. The veil is not a wall, Kale said quietly, his gaze fixed on the glowing horizon. It's a wound, and wounds either heal or spread. We sat in silence for a while, letting the wind carry his words. The field shimmered faintly with golden motes, drifting like fireflies. What does it want from us? I asked finally. Saren turned her pale gaze toward me. Not want, she said softly. It needs. The balance is breaking, just like he said. The mention of him, the silver-eyed figure, sent a shiver through me. You've seen him too? Kale nodded. In dreams. He doesn't speak, not with words, but with images. He showed me the same forest you described. And something else. His eyes darkened. A city burning with light. Before I could ask more, the hum beneath our feet deepened, and the grass bent inward, as if pulled by unseen hands. The veil's shimmer flared in the distance, brighter, closer. It's moving, Oren said. He was right. The veil no longer stood still. It pulsed, like a living thing, expanding and contracting with the rhythm of a heartbeat. The edges of light crawled across the land, and for a moment, I thought I could hear it breathe. The villagers noticed too. By morning, panic had taken root. The elders gathered in the square, chanting old prayers, pleading with gods that hadn't answered in generations. My mother gripped my hand so tightly it hurt, whispering that we mustn't go near it again. My father, once so sure of his faith, stared into the distance with empty eyes, but I couldn't stay away. The hum called to me in every quiet moment, threading through the sound of wind and water. It wasn't just a sound, it was a language. I could almost understand it. Almost. That night, I returned to the lake. The veil's reflection rippled across the surface, trembling like it was alive. When I leaned closer, the water stirred, and the reflection changed not to my face, but to his again. The silver-eyed stranger. Alara, he said, his voice like the echo of 1,000 bells in the distance. The veil is bleeding into your world. If it cannot find balance, both realms will fade. Tell me how to stop it, I whispered. You cannot stop it, he said gently. You can only guide it. He extended his hand through the reflection. Come. The surface of the lake rippled, glowing brighter and brighter, until it swallowed me whole. The water turned to light, and I fell through it like mist. When I opened my eyes, I stood once more in the luminous forest, but it was no longer calm. The air trembled with energy, and the trees pulsed with veins of light that flickered erratically. Above, the sky rippled like water, unstable, fragile. The stranger stood waiting. "You've crossed sooner than I expected. What's happening?" I asked. "The veil responds to you," he said. "You are its mirror, the reflection it seeks to mend." "I don't understand." He smiled subtly. "Few ever do, at first. The veil was once the breath between realms, a space where both worlds met. But when the faith of your kind faded, it began to fracture. The two worlds grew apart, and what once was whole became divided. You, Alara Veil, were born on the fault line. The echo of both worlds runs in your blood." He stepped closer, and his presence made the air shimmer. "There are others like you, fragments of what was lost. Kale, Saren, Warren, each tied to a different thread of the veil. Then we can fix it," I said. "Together, perhaps," he said. "But mending something broken means remembering what it was before. And some memories were sealed for a reason." Before I could ask more, the ground beneath us trembled. Cracks of golden light tore through the soil, spreading outward like veins. The forest dimmed, its glow flickering. From the cracks rose shadows not dark like night, but hollow, translucent forms that twisted and whispered in voices I could almost recognize. "The echoes," he said. "Fragments of what the veil lost." The shadows moved toward me, their shapes bending like smoke, reaching with hands that weren't hands. I felt them brush against my skin, not cold, but weightless, like forgotten thoughts. When they touched me, flashes of memory exploded behind my eyes, faces, laughter, an endless sky split by light, and then it was gone. The forest fell silent again. The stranger watched me carefully. "You felt them?" I nodded, trembling. "What were they?" "The memories of those who once walked between worlds. They linger, waiting to be remembered. You are awakening them." "Why me?" "Because you listened. The veil calls to those who still hear its song." He looked toward the horizon, where light and shadow collided in slow, violent waves. "But something else listens now. Something that does not wish for balance." I followed his gaze and saw it. A figure standing in the distance, cloaked in shifting mist, its form impossible to define. It wasn't made of light, nor shadow, it was the space between them. The world around it bent, colors fading where it passed. Even the light recoiled from its presence. "What is that?" I whispered. He didn't answer. His expression was unreadable, his eyes sharp with something close to fear. "It was once part of the veil," he said finally, "before it broke. Now it feeds on the fracture." The figure began to move toward us, slow and deliberate. The forest dimmed with every step it took. "You must go back," he said quickly. "Tell the others. The balance cannot hold much longer. What about you?" He smiled faintly. "I will hold what remains for now." He raised his hand, and the world fractured again. The forest, the light, the stranger all dissolved into sound and color. I gasped as the world of men rushed back around me, air burning in my lungs. I was on the shore of the lake again. The veil pulsed violently now, rippling through the night sky like a heartbeat out of rhythm. The water churned, glowing from within. Kale, Saren, and Orin stood waiting. Their faces were pale, their eyes wide with the same terrible knowing. "You saw it too," Saren said softly. "Yes," I whispered. "And it's coming?" Kale looked toward the horizon where the veil trembled. "Then we have to decide which side we belong to before it reaches us." The hum beneath our feet deepened. The ground glowed faintly, with threads of gold weaving outward from the lake. Above us, the stars flickered one by one until only the light of the veil remained God in that moment. I understood the truth that the stranger had not said aloud. The veil was not breaking because of time or power. It was breaking because we remembered. And memory, once awakened, cannot be undone. The night the stars vanished, the world seemed to hold its breath. Every sound, the whisper of wine, rustle of grass felt stretched thin, as if caught between two moments that refused to touch. The veil stood taller now, its golden shimmer reaching higher than the tallest trees, pulsing like the heartbeat of some vast, unseen being. We didn't sleep that night. None of us did. Kale paced near the lake, his hands buried in his hair, his movements sharp and restless. Saren sat cross-legged in the grass, her white hair glowing faintly beneath the veil's light, eyes half closed as though listening to something we couldn't hear. Orin stood apart, watching the horizon, his gaze hard and distant. And me, I felt the hum again, stronger than ever. It wasn't outside anymore. It was in me. "The veil isn't just reacting," Saren murmured, her voice distant. It's remembering through us. Kale stopped pacing. Remembering what? She opened her eyes slowly. The first world. The one before division. Oren turned sharply toward her. That's a myth. Is it? She asked, her voice soft but sure. Then why do you dream of it too? He didn't answer. None of us did. The air around us shimmered faintly. The hum deepened until it felt like it was resonating inside our bones. The light from the veil arched outward, tracing shapes in the air, circles, symbols, ancient and fluid, made of shifting threads of light. They hovered for a heartbeat before sinking into the ground, burning faint paths across the earth that led away from the lake toward the old ruins beyond the forest. Kale stepped forward. It's showing us something, or leading us somewhere, I said. Saren stood, brushing the grass from her dress. Either way, we follow. The veil doesn't show without reason. The path glowed faintly as we walked. Each step echoed with the same low hum that now lived inside me. The night air was thick with the scent of rain and something older, something metallic and strange. The forest loomed ahead, shadows bending in unnatural ways as if the trees themselves were shifting to watch us pass. When we reached the ruins, the light spread outward across the stone. The remnants of an ancient temple stood there, half buried beneath vines and thyme. None of us had ever dared to come this far. The elders said the ground was cursed, that it belonged to the before times. But as the light pulsed across the stone, I knew the truth. It wasn't cursed. It was sleeping. Kale ran his fingers along the carvings etched into the walls. These symbols, they're the same as the ones from the veil. Saren knelt beside a cracked pillar, tracing a line of faded runes. Not the same, she whispered. Older. These were carved before the worlds were split. How do you know? I asked. She looked up at me, her eyes glowing faintly. Because I remember. Before I could ask more, the ground beneath us shuddered. Light erupted from the carvings, weaving together in a spiral that lifted into the air, swirling around us like a storm of gold and glass. And in that light, we saw visions fleeting, fractured glimpses of what once was. A city of crystal towers, stretching into clouds of silver mist. Rivers that flowed both upward and down. Voices singing in a language older than time. And then the shattering. A sound like silence breaking. The world split in two, and the light dimmed. The vision faded. The hum stilled. Kale was the first to speak. We were one world. Oren's voice was low and certain, and something tore us apart. I felt it then, the same ache that had filled the silver-eyed stranger's gaze when he spoke of what was broken. He said balance. I murmured. That the veil was once a bridge. Saren's expression darkened. Then something destroyed it. Before anyone could reply, a whisper cut through the stillness. Soft, feminine, almost familiar. Alara. I froze. The voice wasn't from the forest or the veil, it came from inside the ruins, deep below. We followed it, descending through a narrow passage that led into the earth. The air grew colder, thicker, pulsing faintly with the rhythm of the veil above. The walls glowed with threads of light that coiled and shifted like veins beneath stone. At the end of the corridor, a chamber opened before us. And there, at its center, stood a mirror, not glass, not metal, but something between the two. It rippled like water, yet reflected perfectly. My reflection looked back, but then it smiled, even though I hadn't. Kale stepped forward. Alara. The reflection moved again, tilting its head in perfect mimicry, and then it spoke. You are late. The voice was mine, but older, calmer, layered with something that wasn't human. Saren whispered. It's the echo. The reflection smiled faintly. You remember the word. Good. I stepped closer. What are you? I am what remains of what you were, it said. The fragment that stayed when the veil broke. My breath caught. You mean, part of me is from the other side? The reflection finished. You were born at the fracture, Alara. Half of you here, half beyond. That is why the veil listens. Kale glanced between us. If she's part of the veil, can she mend it? The reflection's gaze softened. Perhaps. But to mend the veil, she must remember everything it lost. And memory is not gentle. The mirror began to glow, and my reflection reached out a hand. The air shimmered, trembling like the surface of a lake before a storm. I hesitated, but something deep inside me knew this moment had already happened, long ago, and was simply repeating itself. I touched the mirror. The world fell away. Suddenly, I was standing in that same luminous city from the vision, the crystal towers, the rivers of light. But this time, it wasn't a vision. I could feel it. The warmth of the air, the hum of the world around me. The veil above shimmered as a perfect dome of silver and gold. People walked through it freely, humans and beings of light, side by side. The two realms were one. Then came the storm. A rift tore open across the sky. The light dimmed. and through it came shadows. They weren't creatures. They were absences, holes where being itself unraveled. They whispered, not in words but in hunger. I saw figures standing against them, one of them the silver-eyed stranger, another a woman with my face. She raised her hands, threads of light weaving around her, forming a barrier that wrapped the world in brilliance. The veil. It wasn't created by the gods. It was created by her. By me. The realization hit like a wave of light and sound. The city faded. The chamber returned. I gasped, falling to my knees as the mirror stilled once more. Saren caught me before I hit the floor. What did you see? The beginning, I whispered. And the breaking. Kel's voice was low. You remember? I nodded weakly. I built it, the veil, to protect both worlds. From what? Orin asked. Before I could answer, the ground trembled again, worse than before. Cracks of golden light tore through the chamber, spreading fast. The mirror rippled violently, and from its surface, shadows began to spill forth, those same hollow forms, whispering in fractured voices. Saren shouted, they followed you back. Kale drew a line of light through the air. It burned like a blade, cutting one of the shadows apart, but it only reformed again. Orin stepped forward, his hand pressed to the ground, murmuring words that made the air hum. A barrier rose, but it trembled under the weight of the dark. And through it all, I heard a voice, soft, distant, calling from the veil itself. Alora, the bridge must be whole again. The hum inside me flared, spreading like fire through my veins. I raised my hands, and the air ignited with threads of gold and silver, weaving themselves into light. The shadows recoiled, dissolving into mist. When the last of them faded, silence fell again. Kale looked at me with wide eyes. You can control it. No, I said softly. It's controlling me. The mirror dimmed. The walls pulsed faintly. The hum quieted but not gone. Never gone. I looked up toward the ceiling, toward the world above us. The veil is breaking faster now. Whatever's coming through. We have very little time. Saren placed a hand on my shoulder. Then we find a way to mend it before it consumes us all. Hill nodded, determination replacing fear. If you built it once, Alara, you can rebuild it again. I wanted to believe him. I wanted to think it was that simple. But as I looked at the mirror, faint cracks spread across its surface, thin, glowing lines of gold that pulsed like veins. And within them, for a fleeting second, I saw the shadowed figure again, the one from the forest, standing in the space between light and dark. It smiled. And then the mirror shattered. When the mirror shattered, it did not fall to pieces. It dissolved. The shards turned into threads of light and shadow, curling like smoke before vanishing into the air. For a heartbeat, the world held still. Then the veil screamed. It was not sound, it was vibration, memory, pain. The ground trembled. The walls pulsed as though the stone itself were alive. And the hum inside my veins surged until I thought my body would break apart. Kale grabbed my arm, shouting something I couldn't hear. Saren's eyes glowed white, and Orin braced himself against the wall, trying to hold the barrier that flickered like a fiery light. Then silence. The light was gone. The mirror was gone. The hum faded to a low, trembling whisper in my chest, but something was different. The air no longer shimmered. The ruins felt hollow, drained of their strange energy. The veil had grown dim above us, its golden shimmer reduced to a soft, wavering pulse. Saren was the first to speak. It's weakening. Kale clenched his jaw. You said you built it to protect the worlds. So why does it feel like it's dying? I shook my head. Because protection always demands balance. If one side remembers too much, the other starts to fade. Orin's eyes narrowed. And you've remembered too much. The accusation stung, not because it was cruel but because it might be true. We climbed out of the ruins into dawn's pale light. The world looked the same, yet not. The colors were muted, washed with silver. The air carried no birdsong. Even the wind moved differently, slow, deliberate, as if wary. Across the horizon, the veil pulsed faintly, its shimmer thinning. The villagers had gathered near the lake. They looked terrified, faces pale, eyes wide. The hum had reached them too. I could see it in the way their bodies tensed with every vibration, as if the world itself were whispering secrets they didn't want to hear. When they saw us emerge from the forest, a wave of voices broke through. What's happening? Is the light fading? Is it the end? My father stepped forward, his face lined with exhaustion. Alara, tell them something, anything. I wanted to, but words refused to form. How could I explain that the thing holding our world together was breaking because of me? Kale stepped in, his voice calm but firm. The veil is changing, not ending. We need time to understand what it's becoming. Orin added quietly, and distance. The closer you are to it, the more it feeds on your fear. That made them scatter. Fear travels fast, but faith still holds weight. And yet, even as they left, I could feel the veil shifting, stretching thinner like fabric worn through by too many hands. That night, I couldn't sleep. The hum had changed. It was no longer a single tone. It carried rhythm now, patterns, almost words. I sat by the lake, tracing lines in the dirt, following its strange pulse. Then I heard the voice again, the one from the forest. The silver-eyed stranger, Alara. He stood at the edge of the water, reflection perfect but body absent, half there, half not. You broke the echo. I didn't mean to. Intent does not unmake consequence. His tone was calm, but his eyes shimmered with concern. The echo anchored the memories of what was. Without it, the veil has lost its center. Then help me fix it. He shook his head. I cannot. My place is beyond. You are the bridge now, but you are not alone. He lifted his hand. Light rippled across the lake, forming circles that spread outward like waves of memory. Within them, faces appeared: Kale, Saren, Orin, and others I did not recognize. Dozens, hundreds, all marked by the faint shimmer of the veil's touch. Others across the world are awakening, he said. Fragments of the balance, scattered when the realms divided. Each one holds a memory the veil needs to heal, so we must find them. Yes, he said softly, but the other side stirs as well. The shadow that was born when light withdrew, it remembers too. The image of the shifting figure, the one between light and darkness, flashed in my mind. It's coming through. He nodded once. It has already begun. Before I could ask more, his form flickered. The reflection rippled, and he was gone. The water stilled, leaving only the echo of his words by morning. I knew what we had to do. When I told the others, Kale was already awake, sitting by the remains of the old temple. Saren's eyes had the hollow look of someone who'd seen too far beyond sight. Orin stood beside them, arms crossed. The others like us, I said. He showed me. They're out there spread across the world. If we can find them, we can restore the veil's memory. Kale nodded slowly. Then we start now. Saren hesitated. Do you even know where to begin? I closed my eyes. The hum inside me grew stronger, then steadied like a compass finding true north. I pointed east, toward the mountains where dawn broke. There. We left before sunrise. The village watched in silence, their faces pale, uncertain. My mother touched my hand before I left. You carry light in your eyes, she whispered, but light draws shadows. Be careful which ones you follow. We traveled for days, guided by the hum that grew louder with every mile. The land around us changed, the trees grew thinner, the rivers slower. Even the air seemed tired. But on the seventh night, we saw it. A faint glow rising from the mountains, pulsing in rhythm with the veil itself. As we climbed higher, we found a valley hidden between peaks, a place untouched by time. At its center stood a monolith of black stone, carved with symbols that pulsed faintly with light. And around it, 3 figures knelt in silence. They looked up as we approached. Their eyes shimmered with the same faint glow we carried. You heard it too, one said. Her voice was soft, but the air seemed to bend around it. The calling. We've come to restore the veil, I said. She studied me for a moment, then smiled faintly. Then you must first remember why it broke. Before I could ask, she touched the stone. Light flared and the world around us dissolved again. We stood not in the valley, but in the sky. Beneath us, the world shimmered as to halves: the realm of light, vast and radiant, and the realm of shadow, infinite and calm. Between them hung a single thread of silver light, trembling. And then I saw them, the figures, locked in stillness at the thread's center. The woman with my face, and the shadowed one. The woman spoke first. We cannot hold both. One must yield. The shadow's voice was deep, serene. To yield is to fade, then we fade together, she said. Their hands met and the thread snapped. The light burst outward, splitting the worlds. The vision ended. The valley returned. The monolith dimmed. Kale looked at me, his expression unreadable. So it wasn't torn apart by force. No, I said softly. It was broken by choice. Saren stepped closer. Then to mend it, we must choose again. I finished. Orin's voice was low. And if the choice costs us everything? I looked toward the horizon, where the veil flickered faintly like the last breath of a dying sun. Then everything must be the price. The hum deepened. The mountains trembled. And far beyond the valley, the veil pulsed once more, stronger, brighter. But within its light, a darker rhythm began to stir, like a second heartbeat waiting to rise. The two sides were waking, and soon, they would meet again. The night in Ilarion was quieter than it had been in centuries. The storm that had once clawed at the city's spires had fallen still, as though the air itself had drawn a breath and forgotten how to release it. Yet within that calm, a new unease bloomed, subtle, delicate, and vast, the kind that whispered beneath the skin rather than through the wind. Lyra stood at the edge of the mirror basin, where the last remnants of light from the fractured veil rippled like veins of liquid glass. Her reflection stared back, but it no longer matched her. The eyes in the water glowed faintly with silver, the mark of the dreambound. She didn't remember when it had first appeared, only that since then, her thoughts had begun to echo, as though she were two minds sharing one voice. She closed her eyes and listened to the hum beneath the world, the resonance of something awakening. The veil, the ancient barrier between worlds, was healing itself in ways that defied all logic. The energy that once shattered it was knitting together unseen threads, but not as before. It was changing, rewriting. Arian's footsteps broke the stillness. He moved with the grace of someone burdened by both memory and purpose. "You feel it too," he said softly, stopping beside her. "Yes," Lyra whispered, "but it isn't returning as it was. The veil, it's alive." He nodded. "It always was. We just never listened." The words hung between them like a forgotten truth. For centuries, their people had believed the veil to be a barrier built by gods to protect them from the unknown, a divine shield. But now, standing there in the reflection of broken light, Lyra began to wonder if it had been something else entirely. A guardian, perhaps, or a warning. A faint tremor passed through the ground, followed by a sound like glass sighing. The mirror basin rippled outward, and for a moment, Lyra saw shapes moving beneath, silhouettes of beings not quite human, their forms soft and shimmering, as though woven from thought itself. "They're returning," she said, voice trembling. "No," Orion murmured. "They never left." He reached into his cloak and pulled out the small shard he had taken from the ruins of the old sanctum. It pulsed faintly in his hand, the same light that glowed behind Lyra's eyes. When he held it closer to the basin, the reflection in the water shifted again. This time, Lyra saw not herself, but a landscape, vast, wild, and filled with towering structures made of living crystal. A world beyond the veil. She took a step closer, her heart racing. "It's beautiful." Orion didn't answer. His gaze was fixed, distant. "It's also dying." The vision flickered, and the reflective world began to dim, its colors fading to ash. The structures crumbled, the light drained away, and from the edges came a darkness unlike shadow and absence, an unraveling. Then, just as quickly as it appeared, it was gone. Lyra exhaled sharply, as though she'd been holding her breath through the vision. "What was that?" "The other side," Orion said. "The place the old texts called the origin. The realm that gave birth to the veil. And now, it's calling to us." "But why?" she whispered. "Why now?" "Because the balance is breaking. The veil isn't just mending itself. It's merging the two worlds, ours and theirs. What was once separate is becoming one." Lyra turned to him, realization dawning in her voice. "If that happens, neither world will survive as it is." He nodded slowly. "Unless we find the center, the heart of the veil, and speak the binding before it completes the convergence." The binding, the ancient incantation that could stabilize the veil's energy. But it had been lost when the old archives burned, and only fragments of its verse remained. "There's another way," Lyra said quietly. "The echoes." Orion frowned. "The echoes are myths." "Maybe," she said. "But everything about this is a myth come alive." She knelt beside the basin and placed her hand upon the water. Instantly, it rippled outward, and images began to form, moments of the past flickering in sequence. The creation of the veil, the binding of light to shadow, the first guardians walking between realms. And then, she saw them, the echoes. Beings made of memory, shaped by the thoughts of those who once crossed the divide. They were neither alive nor gone, existing in the spaces between belief and silence. One of them turned. Its form shimmered, and a voice, delicate and layered, filled her mind. "You seek the heart, dreambound, but to find it, you must unbind yourself." Lyra's hand trembled. "Unbind myself? What does that mean?" The echo smiled, or something like it. "To mend the veil, one must become what was sundered. Then the vision dissolved, leaving only ripples on the surface." Arian's face had gone pale. "What did it say?" "That to fix it, I have to unbind myself." He shook his head, stepping back. "No. That's what they want, the remnants of the old world trying to reclaim what was lost. If you cross that line, you might not return." She looked at him, her voice steady but quiet. "If we do nothing, both worlds will fade." The silence that followed was heavier than any argument. Orion turned his gaze to the horizon, where faint streaks of light began to pierce the clouds. Dawn, though in its hue, there was something wrong, too vivid, too alive. The sky shimmered like a fractured mirror reflecting two suns. The convergence has already begun, he said. Lyra stood, her expression resolute. Then there's no more time. Orion reached for her hand, his voice rough. If you go through that, you might lose yourself. Everything you are, your memories, your soul, could scatter into the veil. She met his gaze, her fingers tightening around his. Then remember me, Orion. That's all I ask. For a moment, neither spoke. The basin reflected them both, two figures caught between worlds, between choice and destiny. Then, Lyra stepped forward. The water did not resist. It welcomed her like a returning whisper. Light enveloped her, not blinding, but infinite. It was as though every star in the sky had folded inward to touch her skin. She felt herself dissolve, not in pain, but in release, each memory unfurling like silk into the fabric of something vast. And within that boundless expanse, she saw it, the heart of the veil, a sphere of pulsing light suspended in a void of endless reflection. Around it, threads of energy coiled and uncoiled, weaving the memories of two worlds together. A voice echoed within her, her own, yet not. You are the bridge, Lyra. You are the veil reborn. She reached out, and as her hand touched the heart, the world rippled outward. In Ilarion, Orion fell to his knees as the basin erupted in light, flooding the city in brilliance. The towers hummed, the air shimmered, and for the first time in living memory, the stars realigned above the sky. When the light faded, the basin was still, but in its reflection, two worlds shone as one, and a single voice, faint yet eternal, whispered through the wind. The veil was never broken. It was waiting to remember itself, to be continued.